South Africa, a country rich in mineral wealth, has long been a hub for mining activity. But beneath the surface of this industry lies a darker reality, the dangerous world of illegal mining. Today, we'll uncover the heartbreaking events that unfolded in Stilfontein, where hundreds of illegal miners became trapped in a harrowing situation that has shocked the nation and the world. In November 2024, authorities launched Operation Vala Mgodi, a crackdown on illegal mining in the Stilfontein gold mine near Stilfontein. These miners, known locally as Zama-Zamas, often risk their lives in abandoned mines to extract gold, driven by poverty and desperation. But this time, the government's approach to stopping illegal mining would have catastrophic consequences. Police sealed off entrances, cut food and water supplies, and removed critical equipment, aiming to force the Zama-Zamas out of the mines. However, instead of emerging, many miners found themselves trapped underground, unable to escape.
The post-mortem that has been done to the dead bodies that are already on the surface proves that people died of starvation.
Reports began surfacing that miners were trapped underground, some since July 2024. As weeks turned into months, a dire humanitarian crisis developed. Rights groups reported that over 100 miners had died from starvation and dehydration, while more than 500 remained trapped. The conditions underground were unimaginable. With no food or water, many succumbed to the elements. Families waited in anguish, calling for action as legal battles ensued to force the government's hand in rescuing the miners. In one of the most harrowing revelations, survivors reported instances of cannibalism. With no other options, some miners resorted to consuming the flesh of the deceased to stay alive. These accounts highlight the unimaginable desperation faced by those trapped.
It is true. If you remember in the past, there's a letter that surfaced where they said there is cannibalism because there's no food. Now they are beginning to eat, those dead bodies.
Under mounting pressure from the public and legal interventions, rescue operations were finally launched. By January 14, 2025, rescue teams managed to retrieve 24 bodies and bring 34 survivors to the surface. But for the more than 500 miners still trapped, time was running out.
The survivors told harrowing stories of their time underground, where darkness, hunger, and fear were their constant companions. The mine's labyrinthine structure and the deliberate removal of escape mechanisms made rescues both dangerous and slow. The government's surrender, or starve strategy, faced heavy criticism, with many calling it inhumane. Critics argued that the decision to cut supplies directly contributed to the miners' suffering and deaths. As the situation escalated, high-ranking officials, including the ministers of police and mineral resources, visited the site to oversee rescue efforts. Despite this, questions about accountability and the ethics of the approach remain unanswered.
This is where they came out of from. We are at shaft number 10 here in Stilfontein, which is the shaft that has been used as a second option for those who want to resurface. Obviously, the first option being Margaret Shaft, which is not far from where we are. So the distance between Margaret Shaft and shaft number 10 is about 2.5 kilometers. So they've had to climb out using those ropes. Those ropes there. I'm not sure if my colleague Ritumetse can be able to zoom into those ropes and some of those steel metals just hanging over this particular shaft. So they had to climb up until they get where we are.
This tragedy highlights the broader issue of illegal mining in South Africa. Economic hardship drives thousands to these abandoned mines, risking their lives for a chance to earn a living. Meanwhile, the government struggles to balance enforcement with humane solutions. The tragedy of Stilfontein's Zama-Zamas is a stark reminder of the human cost of desperation and systemic failure. As we reflect on this heartbreaking event, the question remains: how can South Africa address illegal mining without sacrificing lives? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think needs to be done to prevent tragedies like this in the future? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth stories from around the world.